in an ancient Christian city. Wow. I knew this was gonna be good. Look at that, 2,000 years of Christian history here in the heart of the Negev desert. Was Jesus here? Did Jesus come here? I'm mind blown by the architecture that is preserved here. Look at this place. How many Christians know this place exists? Oh my God, it keeps getting better and better. Bro, I see it clearly right now. This is unbelievable. We saw some pictures online, but it didn't prepare me for this. This is way more beautiful than I could have imagined. This is how Christians 2,000 years ago survived the harsh climates of the Negev desert. Oh, it actually is. There's no denying that's the face of Jesus Christ right there. Now I can't deny it. Again, I always remind you guys that Christianity in its early days was very much a Jewish religion. Many early adopters of Christianity were Jews as well.
Thank you to my patrons on Patreon for funding my content. I cannot make these videos without your support, and I really appreciate it. Thank you, patrons. You're the best.
I'm in an ancient Christian city, deep in the Negev desert right now, with these beautifully preserved archways. Look at this. I feel like I'm in an Indiana Jones movie. Unbelievable. Look at these archways. Here in the heart of the Negev desert in Israel. I'm shocked to know that we have things like this, where Christians were once the stewards of this ancient town. Right here in the middle of the desert. Only to be conquered by the Arab Muslims until the town was eventually abandoned. Let's go learn all about it. I'm also going to be exploring this site with an amazing friend. We got Alec, the insightful nomad here.
How's it going, guys?
Today is a really interesting story about Christianity, Islam, and the crossroads of colonization in this area. The same people who built Petra built this place, the Nabateans, and settled here and lived here alongside the Romans and the Byzantines, probably with conflict and some peace. But we're going to be seeing layers and layers and layers of colonization here. I'm very, very interested to see it. So let's head into Shivta. This town is probably a good 2,000, maybe even 3,000 years old from the proper first establishment of it, and it lay in ruin completely right now. When you look at it on Google Maps, it's like the size of some proper towns today. And in here, we're going to be able to find both a church and apparently a mosque on the southern side of it, as well as the buildings of life that people inhabited. And the coolest thing about this site, absolutely free. It doesn't cost you anything to enter. You just come in here, waltz right in. But you can see already, I can see some of the Christian designs over there. Look at this, dude. That is so cool. I feel like I can totally visualize what this ancient city used to look like. Look, that's a very, very distinct alleyway. And you can see houses on the left and right. Here we've got more. I think that's probably the ruins of the church. Oh, I see it, bro. I see it clearly right now. I just got it. I see it super clearly. Oh my God, we've been at this for like 15 minutes. We've been trying to find the face of Jesus. I see it perfect right now. Oh, it actually is that's crazy. Now I can't deny it.
It's like a face.
You can see the eyes and the face. There's no way I'll be able to get this on camera. It's right there. You can tell it's the face of a man. And it does actually kind of line up with Roman depictions of Jesus that I've seen. It kind of looks like a Romanized version of Jesus. That's impressive. Me and Alec were here for 15 minutes trying to figure this out. We were like, is it in this one? Is it in that one? He found out that it was definitely this one. There's no denying that's the face of Jesus Christ right there. Can't believe it. We found a 2,000-year-old painting of Jesus with no beard and short hair.
1,500 years old.
Wow.
But they say that it's supposed to be a depiction of Jesus when he was young. You know?
Young Jesus.
A youthful Jesus. I don't know exactly how they came to that conclusion.
A Jesus full of life. All right, where have we made it to now?
So this is the main church, I believe, because there are several churches here, but it's the largest one that I've seen. And go inside, you'll have a bit of a surprise.
Wow. I knew this was going to be good. Look at that, 2,000 years of Christian history here in the Negev desert. Again, I always remind you guys that Christianity in its early days was very much a Jewish religion. Many early adopters of Christianity were Jews as well. And so when you go to Kfar Nachum or Capernaum in Tiberias, you actually see a church that looks so similar to this in design. These massive pillars that are standing in front of a big archway. What the design of the church is, so what it's actually called is a triple apse basilica. So that's where you see those little, they're called apses. They have a long nave, this area right here, separated by rows of columns, which we can see very clearly. It's also, all of them are oriented towards the east to face Jerusalem, the way that many, many churches back then used to face, the direction of Jerusalem. And wow, this does not disappoint. That is super impressive, huh, Alec?
You see also there's some inscriptions here.
Really? We're about, oh, wow, yeah.
I think they worked on it to like, you see that the color's a bit brighter, so they kind of got rid of some extra stuff to make sure that you can see it.
You can see it really well on camera.
It's like a cross here.
You can see it in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. That specific cross is very, very popular. This, I forgot what that symbol meant.
And there's more on the other side as well. So.
Wow. Very, very similar into design. What I was saying to the church in Kfar Nachum or Capernaum, the town where Jesus was sort of living in Tiberias. You can see more of the inscriptions here. So we are standing in the ancient ruins of a massive Nabatean Byzantine Roman church. Now I know that means a lot to a lot of other people. It might be a little bit confusing. The Nabateans were originally Levantine or Arabian polytheists. There were many, many in this region. The Canaanites, the Philistines, the Phoenicians, they all ranged around this area. When the Byzantines and Romans adopted Christianity, they did come and colonize and conquest and also force their religion upon many other people. At some point, the history is muddled. At some point, the Nabateans accepted Christianity upon themselves, embraced it, and then built many churches in this town. I think there's 3 or 4 of them. Later on, we're going to explore what the Arabians did when they arrived here and they colonized from Arabia. They had built a mosque on top of it before this place eventually was dispersed and stopped being inhabited. But this is the ruins of one of their massive structures in the day. It is amazing to see. Even though the Nabateans probably were not originally Christian, and whatever site predated the Christian arrival to this area, whatever this place would have looked like, whatever gods they worshipped back then, we can't really tell what it is here. It's still amazing to see what is left of that early Christian life, just from around 2,000 or 1,500 years ago. It's truly amazing. This place is designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. First impressions, do you agree? Do you think it should be?
Look, it's pretty crazy. I feel like there's actually a lot more areas here that we haven't even explored, and we're talking about kind of a pretty intact ancient city with some cultures that you don't always talk about here when you talk about the Holy Land. You know, you think about churches of kind of like the Jesus period and so forth. A lot of the Jewish heritage as well, and here it's kind of like Byzantines, Nabateans, part of the incest route that goes from places like even Oman, like at the end of the Arabian Peninsula, and even onward to India, and all the way from there, all the way across to the Mediterranean ports. So
you're good at history. Is the incense route the same as the Silk Route?
I don't think it's exactly the same because, oh, whoa, there's a person here.
One other person.
We thought we were abandoned, and then there was like one of these, what do you call it? Mechola. For me, what's surprising is how do you build such a big city in an area that doesn't have a lot of water? From what I understand, they really had to kind of work to preserve the water and to have enough water for the town, and which makes you ask again, why did they choose this site of all the sites? And from what I'm understanding is, again, because of the possibility of being part of like the trade route, and this is like a convenient way to go up the coast towards ports. Places like Gaza port.
Caravan. So is the incense route and the spice route or the?
No, I don't think so, because I think the Silk Route is the one that kind of goes over land to China.
This is how Christians 2,000 years ago survived the harsh climates of the Negev desert. Massive pools like this where they would store water. Look how huge this place is. Wow. So my friend Alec here brought up a good question about water earlier. Why did they inhabit this area without water? So what you can see over here, right above me with this beautiful view of the Negev, is a massive, what looks like a massive quarry. I don't have evidence to back this up at the moment because I don't have the pamphlet, but I'm assuming that these are the famed cisterns of this area. In Shivta, they built massive cisterns where they stored water. And so this is what it is. We can go inside of it, we're about to. But that's how they survived out here. Without any lakes, springs, or sources of water anywhere in the surrounding, they collected with these massive cisterns a lot of water to hold off the city when it wasn't raining. In the Negev desert where we are right now, it does not rain frequently, but when it does rain, it pours. It rains a lot. So you have to be quick with collecting the water for you and your community. And that's what these cisterns were for, collecting a massive amount of water to hold off the entire population here for a long time. Look at this. You had water streaming through here. This is probably some sort of sewer system or water drainage running all the way through here. Going up into there. Probably, honestly, now that it's making sense, this is probably the water runoff. Whenever it rained from up high, it was collecting down.
Yeah, that's how they did it. That's how they did
brought
it.
down
That's how they did it.
into the cistern.
Made the water collect into.
Makes sense, right? We're connecting the pieces. So that's how the water ended up in here. You have this massive pool of water. And this is how they survived out here. Can we go up here? We can. Amazing. Dude. I love this. Look at this place. We are just in the ruins of a desert village. An ancient Christian desert village. Look at this place. How many Christians know this place exists? Oh my God, it keeps getting better and better. Wow. This is unbelievable. I cannot believe we have this in Israel. My mind is blown right now. Was Jesus here? Did Jesus come here? Probably not. So it makes sense when we talk about stable houses. This makes sense. You can see where the horses probably were standing inside of these rooms. And this was probably the trough, either for food or water. And the horses may have been able to stick their little heads through here and eat. And then probably whoever was tending to the horses. Bro, unbelievable.
What about the camels? I would think you would need a camel here more than a horse.
Maybe it was camels as well, even though this feels a little short for a camel.
We're acting like human camels today. We have no water. We stored all the water in our humps, in our human humps.
Make sure to check out Alex's video on it on his channel on Insightful Nomad. It'll be linked in the description. Make sure you check out that video. Look how amazing this is. I'm mind blown by the architecture that is preserved here. That is so cool, man.
Wait, where is the church? Oh, is this a well here?
Look at this archway.
It's supposed to be a well.
Wow. That's amazing. By the way, folks, do you want to feel like an ancient Nabatean explorer yourself? Do you want to look like this cool traveling clat boy on his shirt? You can go to thetravelingclat.com and get merchandise just like this. Rock our cool Dodo logo. Get our cool traveling clat shirt. Even get a hat for yourself. This is original Traveling Clat merchandise. Thetravelingclat.com. It goes a long way to support the channel. That's just a quick commercial. Back to the village. You can see inside of this room, there were probably another 2 big arches coming out because you can see the beginnings of them here. Maybe they were cascading on top of the horse stable because this is right over here, the horse stable room. I'm really baffled by we saw some pictures online, but it didn't prepare me for this. This is way more beautiful than I could have imagined. Really, really amazing. Small details, by the way, that you might miss if you don't know what you're looking for when you're here. This is a little hole that was carved out that may have potentially been for the leads of the animals. It may have also been to hold a door or a rope here somewhere. And you can see another example of it right here on the outside. You've got a rock that has this hole in it where you could store the lead and hold the animal through. Or maybe, again, another blockade for the door. Really cool. So we saw a sign earlier that said some sort of pool house. You have this concept in the Middle East. It's more Arabized or Ottoman term called a hammam, which is a place where it would be a public pool house. I mean, the Romans engaged in this behavior as well. We're probably walking in some sort of area that has to do with it. Again, the amount of arches and walls that are preserved here is unbelievable. Like that wall specifically of the polished stone is amazing. And walking through here, make it to another one of these little alleyways, which I'm loving in this place. It really gives you a feeling that you are walking where they used to walk. The ruins are so well preserved. Look at this. Look at this desert city. This is so cool. Wow. Unbelievable. So many archways. So many. And so well preserved. Look at these columns. We're making it now to the site of the governor's house. Look at this.
Damn, that governor might have been a little corrupt if he could build such a big house.
This is probably the tallest building here. Still survived. And look at these inscriptions, man. They're amazing. Wow. Kind of looks like the entrance to Akko or some parts of Jerusalem. Even Caesarea. Amazing. Probably had a well here. It's kind of crazy to be in a site like this where everywhere you look you see more ruins. Like, it's just a massive complex.
I'll tell you why that is though, because I mean what it seems to me, because we know this place was abandoned in the 9th century. So because the whole site was abandoned and nobody else came and built here, then everything stays.
Right.
You go to a place like Jerusalem, you'll just see layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of building throughout the centuries. Here, the place was abandoned and it just stood here and nobody came here, so it wasn't defiled. So basically the whole city remains intact.
I guess it's just whatever naturally eroded and broke down here.
Yeah, that's it. This is just like a natural whatever. Like a lot of stuff get ruined because people build on top of. That's why it disappears very often. Wars, things like that, things get destroyed. When a city is just like left to the nature, then it gets covered in a mound of sand. But then you can just dig it up, and it looks pretty good. You know. And
this does look pretty good. This does really.
That's what I'm saying.
It really does look pretty good. And everyone talks about the Italians with their brick ovens. Come on, the Nabateans. They were baking stuff right here in the desert. It's like a giant tabun. They probably did a little tandoor. They had some pita here. This was probably also more of a dome. There might have been a platform in here where the coals and everything was burning, and then you would maybe put breads or stick the dough to the wall. Who knows? I mean, I'm not sure exactly the structure of how they did it, but it says here it's either a bakery oven or a pottery kiln. You got probably sources of water here. Yeah, so much, man. There was so much life here. So much life. This place really reminds me of a pyramid I went to in Egypt. I'm forgetting the name of it, but it was the oldest pyramid in Egypt. And the entrance to here really reminds me of this. I just imagine when we're walking through here, we're entering now probably another church or some sort of religious complex. This is the northern church of the city. I just imagine the people that were born here, the kids that were raised here, the families that lived here. How amazing would that be that they would come here? This was their local church. You have to imagine there was generations upon generations who called this place home. And all that's left now is just ruins. Ruins of their village. Ruins of their city. It really is, when you contextualize places like this in the Holy Land, it's more than just a touristic site, and you start imagining them as a place that was full of life. Again, with stories, families, generations upon generations that lived here. It's really amazing. Wow, it's about the same exact style as the other church. Almost exactly the same, a little bit less preserved. But same exact concept. So I'm not Christian, but I wonder for you Christians who are watching this video, which I'm sure there are many, would this site call to you to pray in? Would you feel connected enough to pray when you were here? To do a prayer to Jesus or to your faith while you were here? Oh, Alec, I found something amazing. Oh my God. No way. I didn't know that was here. Look at the mosaic.
Oh, this is the mosaic.
Wow.
See?
Are those Greek Roman letters, right?
Looks like Greek letters.
Wow. Unfortunately, most of it is destroyed, but you have here, incredibly, the edges of a mosaic preserved. And you can see the designs of these little waves. Usually, I mean, I'm probably not sure if we're going to be able to find one here, but usually to find these mosaics, or when you go around these mosaics, you'll find small stones like this. This might be part of it. A smoothed out stone that was used to put together these mosaics. You see they pressed them into the ground to create this beautiful design. And you have these red waves around. Something written here, I wish we could understand, decipher what it is. And then I can't really tell the rest of the design. Some flower shapes. Amazing. It's amazing. Whatever polytheistic sites they had here before, we can't see remnants of it, but we have the remnants of a massive church, which was the dominant religion here for many, many years. And then you just have a small mosque. Okay, you could tell this was the remnants of a small mosque. There was probably a dome above us or some sort of square-like building, and it's literally connected to the church. So whenever the Arabs came here, whenever the Muslims came here to this land, they had a point. Every time they saw a Jewish synagogue, there was usually a Christian church on top of it. And every time they saw a Christian church, they destroyed it and then built their mosque on top of it. Here, they didn't build it on top of it, but they built it conjoined to it. So probably whenever this place converted to Islam, they just used the church and repurposed it as a mosque. And you can tell that this is a mosque as well because it is pointed towards Mecca or Medina as opposed to the church pointing towards Jerusalem. This mosque is actually pointed away from Jerusalem towards Mecca and Medina. After the Christians forced their religion onto the Nabateans here, we had the Muslim conquest who forced their religion onto the Nabateans here. And obviously Arabized the region as well. Do I know that that's the cause of why people left and didn't inhabit this place anymore? No, but what we're standing in right now is the remains of the mosque. You can also see inscriptions here, just on the ground, which is crazy.
It's pretty unusual, actually, that they would keep the church intact, you know? I mean, in most places, usually they built the mosque on top of the church. And by the way, something that most people don't know is that the Dome of the Rock on the Temple Mount is built on top of the ancient temple. But there was also at that site, at one point, also a church on the Temple Mount. So the church was built on top of the site of, and there was also a pagan temple, right? Aelia Capitolina, as it was called, which was the Roman province. They built a temple, and also in the story of Hanukkah, right, fighting the Greek Empire that was there was because they built a temple to Zeus there on the site of the Holy Temple. So you have a lot of building on top of is actually quite a popular thing to do. It's quite a common thing to do rather than build next to, which is preferable, of course, because then we can all coexist.
That's the layers of the Holy Land. Usually it's built on top of each other. And what I did read about this place is that there was a brief period of time where they cohabitated. Christians and Muslims were living here together side by side, which is probably the reason why they didn't destroy the church outright and had a mosque built next to it.
Yeah, you have a lot of examples of that where, I mean, there's a reason why Christianity survived all those centuries here in the Holy Land next to Muslims, right? Because there was also the ability to live next to each other in some places, and in some places less, depending.
But I always ask people to remember this, which is very important. It's an important fact. When the Arabs and the Muslims did colonize, Christians and Jews, or anybody below them, any religion that was different to them, was treated as a dhimmi status. They had to pay a tax, and a lot of times they were embarrassed in public and were not treated equally. And so you have to imagine that whenever the Arab colonizers did come into this land, the Muslim colonizers came to this land, whoever was Christian here before, who came under their belt, whether they were living side by side harmoniously or not, is probably just conjecture. There was probably a major suffering under the end of anybody who was not Muslim or Christian. I don't make this point to demonize the Muslims, especially not modern day Muslims today. It's just something to remember that when these colonizations happened in these places, the people who lived here for generations before, they suffered greatly, including people from my family. So that's just a small story to always remember when you see a mosque built on top of a church, on top of a synagogue. The layers that were there before suffered greatly under that. So I'm outside in the northernmost courtyard of this church right now, where that depiction of Jesus was. We'll enter or exit out of this gate. And where are we? We're on the outside of Shivta now. Just like that. No checkpoints, no borders, no security, no nothing. Just like that, I exited through an archway. A beautiful archway, and I'm on the outskirts of this town. I'm on the outskirts of this city, in the middle of the desert, all by myself. It looks like there may be nothing else around me, but something important to remember anytime you're exploring a site like this in Israel. Just from where I'm looking here in my eyes, I can see ruins over there, a little bit of ruins over there, a little bit of ruins under there. Let's be honest, even though this is the sort of official entrance or exit gate of the city, there probably were farming communities, farmers who lived here on the outskirts of the town, maybe even small villages that we can't see today, or they could be so deep underground that we don't have access to them. Like just here on the ground, you could see this was definitely carved by a human being. This rock right here is not just a regular rock. That was carved by a person. And that's going to be scattered all over this area, everywhere you go. And probably if you dig underground, if you do an archaeological expedition, you'll find even more ruins. But there is something really special about just, I almost felt cozy inside of there. I was like, damn, this is my town. This is my city where I'm exploring. I'm now on the outskirts, on the outer wall of this place in the wilderness. It's really amazing. It really is. This is a very, very special site in Israel. I'm so happy I got a chance to come here today. I see a small hill here. We got to climb this. This is the back end of the church. Look at that pottery shard. You find these all over Israel. Honestly, these are more plentiful than sand in this country. You find pottery shards like this all over. Here's more right there. Wow. Shivta, man. This place is amazing. Truly. Yeah, there's so many more ruins. Look at this. Going all the way down. What a special place. This Alec, I found a freaking staircase.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's so cool. Do you think we go?
Me though, look, bro. When I travel places, I love this kind of thing. You know what I mean? When I travel by myself, I love walking through ancient sites forever.
Right. Same. And unfortunately, as YouTubers, it's kind of hard to depict them sometimes.
They don't do that well on YouTube.
I agree.
Those sites. I love, like when I was in Indonesia.
Wow.
I walked through Borobudur. I walked there 2 hours, and I filmed 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
When I was in Cambodia, I went to Angkor Wat. Didn't even make a video.
No, I know.
I couldn't make a video about it.
No, I added in as a section of my video, you know, as a small section of my video.
Man, this place is next level. I gotta be honest with you guys. I want to build a house here. The view is unbelievable. I just climbed a little flight of stairs. Look at the view that I have. Imagine if these houses were fully done. They had balconies, or even if they could just climb to the roof. The kids looking out on the roof in the middle of the freaking Judean desert, seeing wild camels roaming, donkeys, leopards, foxes, hyenas. This was a different world thousands of years ago. This was a different world, people. People don't understand this. They just see the Middle East. They see Israel. They think just Israel-Palestine conflict. This was a different world back in the day. Ancient staircase. I'm just crouching here next to the wall of a house, and I just wanted to point out two things that I found here on the ground, just naturally. I haven't even picked them up yet. I just want to show them to you. Look how cool this is. All right, right here on the ground, we've got this, and right next to it, we've got this. So two things I want to explain real quick. This right here, as we talked about earlier, these are the clay pottery shards, and this is probably the handle of a jar or a cup, maybe a bowl, something, some vessel to hold either oil or water. And you can see the handle. You find these all over Israel, as I mentioned earlier. Right next to it, you can find a snail shell, an ancient snail shell. Now, you might wonder yourself, what are snails doing out here in the desert? They're probably not. And the reality is, through the binding of these walls that were built thousands of years ago by man, you can find these ancient snail shells. And that's because here in the Negev desert, we're actually walking around in what used to be an ancient ocean. Millions of years ago, the Negev was fully underwater. There was plesiosaurs out here and all kinds of marine reptiles, pteranodons that used to fly around in the sky and fish. We are completely looking at the seabed. We're underwater. This was covered by millions of cubic tons of liters of water above us. And all of this was the seabed, the seafloor. And if you dig underground, you do find fossils of marine reptiles and coral snails. So most likely, those snail shells come from a time even before the Nabateans ruled over this land. And they just used them for the binding of their buildings, which is amazing. There you go. Perfect example right there. It's bound. You can see the snail shell right there, bound into the rock. Look at that. So old it just turns into dust. You have another one right there. And you can find examples of this everywhere. Being escorted out of the park right now. We may have overstayed our welcome just a little bit.
Yeah, we're like an hour and a half past closing time.
Yeah.
There's nobody, there's like nothing here. So it's like, okay, so, and then there's one employee here who came to kick us out. But he did it nicely.
Yeah, very nice dude. It is
Very nicely kicked us out.
It is the holiday of Sukkot tonight, so things close a little bit early. But the place is like basically it lays in ruin, kind of abandoned. There's nobody here. So this is an over and done with adventure. Make sure you check out Alex's channel down below in the description, Insightful Nomad. I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you a long time. Goodbye, class. If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to monetarily support the channel. Some of the best ways to support me happen to be PayPal, buy me a coffee, or joining our Patreon community. Links to them can be found in the pinned comments or the description of every one of my videos. Joining my Patreon community gives you access to exclusive content and the chance to talk to me on our Discord server. I also go live almost every day here on YouTube. And after my live streams, me and my patrons from Patreon head over to our Discord server to an exclusive after party hangout. Your support is the only way that I can keep creating the content that you love watching for me. Thank you.